about that earlier. But anyway, I am thrilled to have Dr. as my glasses go flying, Dr. Richard House. Thank you so much for coming in. I know you had a little bit of a delay when you were in the Carolinas. My best aspect is, yes, I have questions, but I love when I have my guests tell them about themselves, how you got started, what brought you to this. Basically, open door, whatever you'd like to share.
Be happy to, and
Fabulous.
thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to start with how I am now, which is still working. I'm an acupuncturist, and I've been doing that for about 24 years now. I was ear, nose, and throat before that for about 15 years, so I've been in this a long time. But I live on an organic farm, take care of livestock, and I have bees, and
I love
so
bees.
pretty ordinary stuff. Now, there's quite a contrast between my life now and what's in the book.
Okay.
So that's why I'm bringing that up. But the book actually chronicles events that occurred about 30 years ago. And the title actually describes the contents of the book.
Okay.
Because it's between now and when. But that's sort of the way I am. I'm between now, which of course is the ordinary world, and all the tasks that go with it. As a matter of fact, I cleaned out the goat barn yesterday.
Getting your hands right in that wheel rounding. Okay, well,
I do use a rake. But and then the day before, I had about 16 patients. So that's the way my life is now.
Is your office in your home?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm in a clinic in downtown Goldsboro, North Carolina. But I would say that the when is what I experienced when Spirit took me around the world.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah. And so that's what the book chronicles. Now, it also reflects where we are at the moment. Humanity, not just me.
So important.
Yeah, because we are between ages now. Yeah, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, in the East, they call this age that we're passing through now and almost done with the age of Kali, and which actually means the machine age. And so that's why we have all these machines. In fact, I was just looking at, they had a robot that hitchhiked across the country.
You've got to be kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, just recently.
Wow.
So the age of machines, the age of technology, we have the internet and all the devices, our little cell phones, the whole business. But we also have sort of a polarity now where there is so much going on that is untoward. All you have to do is turn on Channel 7 News and
it's all there for you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So this age obviously is coming to an end, and what happens then? See, that's the when in my book. And what happens then is a new consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about it. And you are involved in it, I'm involved in it. All the viewers are involved in it, even if they don't know it yet.
Of course.
But they will. So that's what the book's really about. But let me start at the beginning. That's always a good place to begin, because when I was 7 years old, I grew up in California, a very good family. But when I was 7, I had this incredible experience of oneness with everything that is.
Okay.
Which in the Buddhist tradition they call Satori.
Okay, I've heard that.
You've heard that, yeah. And it's a wonderful experience. It's beyond description. But to have it as a 7-year-old is unusual. Yeah, real unusual. And it was disorienting to me.
Of course.
Because, all things do pass. And when this passed, I thought, wow, I am vast. I have no limits. And yet I look at myself and I'm a 7-year-old kid,
Yeah,
wearing,
exactly.
wearing reinforced knees in my jeans, striped
Love
T-shirt.
it.
So I came to the understanding that I had to be more than a child, but I was a child. So I had this dual identity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened was,
Well, you did come back as an old soul. You were already aware of that.
I'm pretty old, you're right.
But no, not old old. You know what I mean? At 7, you had an old soul. You were born with an old soul. And that's why you are as spiritual as you are.
I would think so. It started right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. So what I did, I didn't know how to put that together really, and so I tried to come up with a word or a name that would describe myself. Mm-hmm. And I came up with this odd word, which is Ichen, of all things, I-C-H-E-N. And I started calling myself
it's like
that.
I-Chin.
Like I-Chin, exactly. And so instead of Richard, I started calling myself Ichen.
Okay.
Now my mom, who's very intelligent, and she's still alive, by the way.
God bless her.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
she's doing reasonably well.
Good for her.
But anyway, she said, "You're Richard," and so that was the end of that. But so this other experience I had, this vast feeling of being a universal something. I tucked away, lived life as an ordinary kid in Southern California, got out my skateboard, and forgot about it. But I had another mystical experience somewhere around the age of 12, 13, something like that. And it was alarming. In this experience, I had a message from God, and I knew it was God.
Okay.
There was no question,
that.
I was so connected with that experience that I knew that we were
yeah.
not alone, that,
So true.
yeah. So anyway, this message from God said quite clearly to me, and it wasn't just a voice, it was almost like email, like brain mail.
Right. Telepathy, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go right to you, yes.
So you know.
So
and I knew it was right from God. And this message was, you will die when you're 33 years old.
Whoa, that's scary.
Yeah, here I am a teenager, well, almost a teenager.
Yeah, and then you get this.
I get this message. So once again, I don't know what to do with it. And, I was alarmed in the moment. That probably lasted a few minutes. And I thought, well, what do you do with that? You just take life as it comes.
How much time do I have to obtain whatever, yeah.
So I pretty much forgot about it. So there was that message. It was prophetic. And what happened then? Well, I was a good student, and I decided that it would be wonderful to be a dentist like my father.
Okay.
So got good grades, got into school at Butler University in Indianapolis, a really fine school. And I learned 2 important things. One, how to drink.
Doesn't that go with college usually?
Exactly. And I found out about romantic love.
Oh, goodness. That usually blends in with the drink.
Yeah. And the idea of being a dentist was sort of pushed aside a little bit. And so I didn't get the grades that I would have hoped, and so, but it was good enough to get into dental school. And so, once again, a mystical experience. And I was in the Holcomb Gardens just kind of minding my own business, and all of a sudden I had another one of these messages. And it was quite simply, you don't need to be a dentist, you need to be a doctor.
We're in the same line.
Same line.
Yeah, in a lot of different.
And I want to tell you, this message was the first one that was accompanied by joy.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's beautiful.
And excitement. I was sitting down. I jumped up. I said, great. I said, I'll be a doctor. No problem. Wow, thanks. That kind of thing. That was the feeling I had.
I'm sure you made your parents still proud. You were still in the medical field in some aspect. Not dentist, but you were still in the medical field.
Yeah, so my dad said, can you get into medical school? And I said, well, it's a long shot. He said, how long? I said,
How long do we have?
He said, what's your grade point? I said, 2.3.
Okay.
He said, impossible. Out of 4?
Right,
yeah,
of course, yeah.
You can't get into medical school with those grades. So I stopped drinking as much,
Okay.
did not stop altogether, pushed aside all the other things, resigned from the fraternity, and started getting good grades. See, it happens.
Amazing.
So, sometimes we are given these messages, but there's a nice quote that I like by James Howell, and he said, God gives us the thread for the work at hand.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that nice?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that was the...
So it's the sensitivity of that whole phrase there.
So God doesn't ask us things that we're incapable of doing.
Exactly.
And that's the way it works.
He presents certain things, and it's up to us to, like I always say, it's from the umbilical cord to God. When I get messages, that's the way I look at it. Like I'll get chills and stuff. I'm like, all right, it's from my umbilical cord to God, and that's the way I look at it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
nice.
it's
Third chakra.
that's right. That's right. Talking about chakras, why don't you expand more on where you're coming to from the book to today, and then we'll talk about chakras because I know that's very interesting. And a lot of people don't know what chakras are.
We'll get into it.
Fabulous.
Okay. Yeah, what happened, I'll kind of get
That's
through
okay.
this quick.
We've got a whole hour.
But,
We've got plenty of time.
so, make a long story short, I got into medical school, and I think the reason was that I sold encyclopedias during the summer.
Okay.
I learned how to sell,
Yes, you did.
knocking on doors. And so when I was
That's
interviewed before the medical board at Indiana University, I think I really gave them a good interview. They heard what they needed to hear, and even though my grades weren't up to it, I was accepted.
It's funny. I was a real estate agent. And, they always say when you learn to sell, you can sell anything. The product's different, but as long as you're on that right path.
It's
And
so true.
That's where you were basically on that.
Once
right
again,
path.
I had help.
Yeah. Well, of course you do. We know from where.
So, anyway, of course, I got my education, my medical education. I did an internship at LA County General in Los Angeles. I got a certificate of excellence. So those guys at the medical school made the right decision.
That's for sure. They brought you in. That was
Yes.
fabulous. That was fabulous.
I loved medicine. I was very good at it. I loved surgery. And so I did a residency in ear, nose, and throat and learned how to do ear surgery and to restore hearing.
My grandson just had 2 tumors taken out.
Acoustic tumors?
I don't know, but they were going right into his brain.
Yeah. Wow.
And he has a difficult time hearing now. He can barely hear now.
Oh, I'm
Had
sorry.
one,
to hear
and then
that.
he had another one. So I don't know if you can get those cochlear. What are they called, cochlear? Does that work?
Cochlear implant.
Does that work if you have?
Oh, oddly enough, you talk about a synchronicity. It was my uncle William House who invented the cochlear implant.
Get at it. Oh, my God. See, no. Is he with us still?
No, he died
Well, then
about
he's
5
giving us-
years ago.
Well, there he is. He's getting his 2 cents in. I'm going to be on TV saying how funny. That's amazing.
Yeah, William House. He was and as a matter of fact, he designed the cochlear implant back when there wasn't even a glimmer of the idea.
Interesting.
And he was just convinced that there was something that we could do
Actually,
for people who were totally deaf.
interesting, yeah.
And another interesting thing, the reason he was able to do it is he went to dental school as well as medical school.
Oh, interesting.
And he learned about how to use a drill.
Okay.
And in the old days, before him, when they were doing ear work, they used chisels and mallets, believe it or not.
Okay.
So he brought the dental apparatus into the medical field,
Wow.
and then designed a microscope so that
Seems
surgeons
like
could
a
see.
genius, the man. Yeah, totally. Oh, my God.
Well, you said it, but it's
That's
true.
where you get all your genius from. Goes right
Well, it does
down.
run in the family.
Yes, I'm
There's
certainly sure it
no
does,
question
yes.
about that. Yeah, I have a lot of doctors in my family.
It's fabulous.
So anyway, I guess I had to be a doctor, right?
Well, you had the choice. They won't gently push you into it. You know,
Yeah.
you are or you're not. You are. That's the way it is. So that's great.
So I had a career. Things were going well. Married, child.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend Jack Daniels,
Mr. Daniels, as they
he
say.
became a closer and closer friend.
Ah,
Yes, yes. And I will have to say he is a lower companion.
oh, very low. Yeah, like
Way down there.
Wait.
So as time went on, I started having the effects of alcoholism that
Okay.
interfered with all the other things in my life, of
Certainly,
course.
yeah.
And then eventually I got incredibly sick.
ooh,
And from alcohol, I had
Yeah.
liver failure, basically.
oh my.
And I found myself in the ICU
Mm-hmm.
of a hospital right across town from where I worked. And they got my lab reports, and my doctor, who was a casual acquaintance of mine, came in and he said, "Let me ask you a question." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Do you drink?" Yeah,
Gently.
now and then, you know. So he basically what I had, he told me that I had an irreversible condition. My liver was shot.
Ooh,
I was bleeding
sure. Profusely, probably, yeah.
everywhere. And he said, "You have esophageal varices." For any doctors that are in the audience, they will understand that, but no one recovers from esophageal varices. And certainly they didn't in those days. And I had worked on a lot of people that had that condition, and so I knew it. So as soon as he told me that that's what I had, I said, "Wow, well, my number is up."
Yeah.
And of course, how old was I?
33.
Of course.
That magic number, 33. Yes.
Right. Now, so then I had, the doctor said, we might as well stop the transfusions. You know, I had 18 of them.
Oh my.
And he said, you know, it's hopeless. So say your goodbyes while you're still conscious, and
Right,
so
yeah.
on and so forth. And so I said my goodbyes, my wife, the whole business. And but what happened then? At about 3 o'clock in the morning, I felt this incredible sensation of comfort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we all know what pain is, and
Right.
and it wasn't until I felt that comfort that I understood how much pain I'd been all my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
You know?
yeah. Certainly. Yeah.
And
You were just covering it, like using Mr. Daniels as an excuse where you weren't feeling that innate.
it's a good way to put it,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was blocking all that
Yeah,
out.
sure. Yeah.
But
That's
in that instant of comfort, all the fear, all the worry, all the suffering went away.
I so relate. I can relate because when by near death, you come out looking at life in such a different way.
Your life is different.
Oh, it
There's
is.
just
It's
no
totally
question about it.
It's like a rose that's ready to bloom. That's the way I look at it. You know, it's that bud, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's open, and there you go, and you're on your path.
It is. It's a magical
Mm-hmm.
time. And I felt myself drifting away from my body that was in the
Okay.
ICU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I could kind of see myself down there, sort of all yellow, you know, from the
Yeah.
jaundice
Oh,
and whatever.
sure.
And yet here I am feeling all this comfort, but then it sort of segued into bliss, this feeling that's beyond comfort. It's beyond description.
Right.
It's the state of being that is very similar to what I experienced when I was 7, and that is this vast feeling of love, and that is the best description.
Oh, yeah.
It is a blissful feeling of love. And as that was occurring, if someone had asked me, now, do you want to go back or do you want to keep going to the other side? I would have said, you don't have to ask. Let's go for it.
Right, sure. It's like that calmness. It's almost like euphoric.
It is
That
euphoric.
that would be the best way to, it's almost like a kid that's had ice cream for the first day that they've ever had it.
That's a
Right?
good description.
You know,
it is a sensory
Yes,
experience.
Yes, totally, yes.
And also, I want to say this for people that are watching. Everyone's death is that way
Mhm.
at some point. no matter how horrific or how sudden it might be, there is a point where we experience exactly that, this incredible bliss.
You're almost put into a bubble.
I like that. Yeah, it is. It's
You
an
know, like
embrace.
you're not here. You're. It's almost like you're protected.
That's a good word.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, because you're in that other energy level,
And so,
and there's no pain.
so death is a very pleasant, wonderful, joyful, exciting experience. And as I often say to my patients that are dying, I say, dying is perfectly safe.
I love it. I love it. But now that you're here, we both had the near death. Okay. It apparently changed you more in the mode of. It's almost, I like to use the analogy. It's like when you look at a beautiful wave, it's just blossoming, and it's just going along at such a smooth rate. That do you feel that now? You know that now that you've come so close to dying, and I really do feel like you actually did die at one time. Okay. Do you feel that now? I'm taking this from my own feelings, that now things that are important are more helping others, paying it forward, being here for what we should have been here from day one.
Well,
The humanity part.
It's just so. As a matter of fact, when I was experiencing that, once again, I had this message from God. And I knew it was from God. There was no question. And this message was quite clear. It was, you will heal and work for me.
Sounds right to me.
And it was almost, if I could have saluted, I would have. Yes, sir.
Well, he did have you in the palm of his hand, and that's, and that attributes that. And then it's all good. Now, you said you went all over the world.
Let me tell you what happened then, and we'll get to
please,
that. Sure.
Certainly, yeah.
So I went back into the body, and it healed. And in 2 or 3 days, I was out of the ICU, and another 2 or 3 days, I was out of the hospital. And the doctors were amazed, of course, and so was I.
I've been there and know that. That feeling like, wow, what happened to you?
But then I started having what can only be called magical experiences.
Okay.
And the reason I want to go into this is because it's where we're headed.
Totally.
So what happened was, it took me a couple of years to sort of accommodate that experience, and I got into AA and started working with the people in AA, and did a lot of speaking and sponsored people and that kind of thing. But about year one, I was sitting alone in my house in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep one night, but the lights were on in the den, and I'm looking down at the floor, and it was a tile floor. And as I'm looking at the floor, all of a sudden, the tiles became luminescent with beauty. And as I'm looking at these tiles, I'm thinking, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
And Mr. Daniels didn't have anything to do with that.
Not a thing. He did not have a thing. Yeah. Yeah, I've been totally sober and for 30-some years
Fabulous.
now. So I'm looking at those tiles, and I'm thinking, how can they be the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen?
Yeah.
They're floor tiles.
But they were glowing.
They were glowing. There was magic in those. And so I was amazed. And once again, I was filled. Some people have experiences, and it might be because of drugs or something. But the difference when you're having a mystical experience is that it fills you with joy. It fills you with this incredible feeling of bliss and well-being. And that's the way it was with me. I felt terribly excited about what had happened. And man, I was ready to do whatever it takes, to understand more about what was going on. That type of experience started happening more and more. And one day I was walking down the streets in Sierra Madre, and it was like all of a sudden, even though I was walking on a sidewalk and there were trees and all that, it was this beautiful land. And that's the words that I like to use.
You saw the beauty in it too. You went right to the core of it.
Exactly. Yes, the core of it, because let me tell you what this beautiful land was like. Every sound was precious. Every sight was beauty. Every feeling was blissful. But the thing I really noticed was that there was no worry and there was no fear. Now, I could think of, now these states lasted long enough so I could really analyze them. I could think about things that were stressful, you know, not enough money, whatever, tough relationships, my daughter, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was in these states, there was no emotion connected with it. So there was no fear, there was no worry.
Right.
And it was this wonderful feeling of love once again. Now, as I stayed in this beautiful land for more and more, I started seeing that the world works differently when you're in that state, that the physical laws are different, that magical things happen, and so on. So I wanted to go into that for a good reason, because that's what when is.
Okay.
So, now obviously I couldn't stay in those states for very long.
Right.
But at this point, I saw that I had a captain, someone that was sort of giving me a heads up on what to do and how to get it done, and you know, sort of a mentor. I couldn't see. I had no idea who it was, but I started meditating, all that kind of thing, and decided that I needed to stop practicing and so on and so forth. So I turned my practice over to my partner, gave away all my stuff, no money, nothing.
That just sounds so like all of us that are in that same humanitarian field. It's not about the money. We actually shared this earlier before we did the show. It's about paying it forward, and it's the gift that we have to give on.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I was no longer living my life for myself, so why did I need all that stuff?
So true.
So I gave it all
You were
away.
uncluttering.
Yes. In the East, it's called renunciation.
Okay.
And what you're doing is
Starting
renouncing your life,
Yeah,
basically,
starting
and saying,
yourself.
all right, you know, my life is yours. It's the one of the
that's
major surrenders that we can do, where we can say, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, you know, wealthy, and so on, but the universe will take care of me.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it does.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Yep.
Things always fall, you know, like, well, you know, with what I do, people are like, oh, I have this, you know, just let it be. Just trust and just know it will be at the right time. And that's, when you turn over to God, I feel He's in control. We have no control over anything. We're here, we're human, we're beings, but when we give it over to God, He's the one that's going to present it to us.
Yes.
Or present the right person in the path.
Oh, I hope
for
the
us to
viewers
achieve.
heard what you just said. We're not in control of anything.
No, we're not.
And we have the illusion of control. And people try hard to control, and it causes pain.
It kind of backfires on the situation as well, you know, because everyone is a free soul, you know. Like even when I do my readings, I tell people, you know, it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to tell a person how to live their life. We all have free will. Turn it over, and it's going to be good. And that's the only way to go.
That's it. That's
the
it.
only way to go.
So I surrendered, you know, and I was happy to do that. And so what happened was this unseen captain of mine sort of made it clearer what I should do, and I ended up going to Hawaii and I gave away or I turned my practice over, moved to Hawaii, got set up in a little condo right on the beach.
Very nice.
It was nice. And in fact, that's how the book starts.
Yes.
It was an amazing thing. And in my little condo, the first one I looked at was on Kaka Street. And I thought, okay, God, you want me to live on Kaka Street?
That doesn't go with the rest of it.
I said, all right, I will. So I was ready to sign up for that little duplex in Kauai.
Something else came.
And so, you know, that was my surrender. But the landlord said, well, the stove isn't working. We're going to have to put in a new stove. If you still want it in a week, let me know.
So that gave you a real
Yeah.
fast exit to find something else. Yeah.
And so I ended up, the next day there was an available condo that was right on the beach.
And what was
And
that street?
That
A little
was
better?
yeah, it was Cahil Highway.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds
A little better,
Yeah, a
yeah.
little gentler.
But anyway, so here I am, my dream come true about living on the beach somewhere in a tropical paradise. And what did I do? I drew the drapes across the screen door, and I sat in a chair and I meditated for 6 months.
Wow. So all that beautiful ocean view, you just, well, that's what you needed. You needed to close out everything else around
Right.
you.
You see, what I had to do was empty that
Right.
other life,
Right.
get rid of it,
Exactly.
and it was very painful. And I
Oh,
go
sure.
through that in the book. It's in fact, some of the people that have read it have told me that it's excruciating to read. And let me tell you, it was excruciating to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it was also magical. Yes, there was a lot of pain, but there was also this magic and this joy and this excitement, and I started understanding how things work on this world.
Interesting.
Now, I was not a reader of spiritual texts, and I've never had a spiritual mentor, just like you,
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
told me. So I was learning through
Your own.
meditation, because, and this is something else that I think is important to point out, the truth is in here.
Oh,
It's
so
not in my book or any other book. It is inside. So how do we get to it? Well, it's sort of like what St. Paul said, we're looking through a glass darkly. Well, we have to clean the glass,
Exactly.
and so we get rid of
Make
the
it pure, where you can just,
where you see. And so once you get rid of the cobwebs, so you clean the glass, you see how things are,
so-
because this is where God is.
I so agree.
So this is what my journey was all about. And so, 6 months was difficult. But at the end of that time, I started understanding that we come back here more than once.
Oh, goodness,
And
yes.
and I started
We learn
understanding.
every time.
Yes. And everything started falling into place. I started understanding how things work.
You just let it flow, and God did it for you. I mean, you know that.
Exactly.
Higher power.
And then after a time, I ended up going to Fiji, and I spent some time there, and then Australia. I spent a lot of time there.
This is gorgeous.
Yes, and I figured out who my captain was. When I was in Hawaii, I had this message, and it was one of these sort of brain mail message. And it came through meditation. But let me tell you how it happened. It was really kind of cool. One day I was sitting on the couch in my little condo, and all of a sudden I got up without any volition, which is a startling thing to experience. But my feet took me outside the screen door, outside my condo, walking along the sidewalk, along the beach, and once again, I'm just following my feet.
Right.
And as I'm going down this path, my feet suddenly just kind of jerk me down the slope through some weeds and rocks down to the ocean, to the beach. And of course the waves were coming in, and then my feet turned me around and had me facing the sea. And I'm watching the surf, and then pretty soon, just standing there, nothing else going on, and all of a sudden, way off in the distance, I see an object start coming forward. With each breaking wave, this object comes closer. Pretty soon I see it's a recorked wine bottle.
Oh, how funny. Message in it?
Yes, this is it.
Interesting.
This is, God has a sense of humor.
We know that.
So I think, oh no, this can't be happening. And this bottle keeps getting closer and closer until it ends up right at my feet.
Oh, goodness.
And so just like you, I'm saying, a message in a bottle. How can this be? So I reach down, and I fully expect there to be a note from God,
Oh, of course. Well, yeah.
But it was empty.
Apropos.
It was empty.
Oh, darn. Somebody
And I
pulled it out.
thought, oh, wow. So maybe I'm wrong. And then I got it. That the message was in the bottle. I just had to capture it through meditation. So my feet turned me around once again without any volition, and I glided right back up into my condo and sat right down where it all started, got into meditation, and one word came through: Brisbane.
Okay.
And I didn't know for sure. It was a Sunday, and the Island Library was closed. But the next day, first thing, I went down there and looked it up, and sure enough, Brisbane is a city in Australia.
Brisbane, yeah. B-R-I-S-B-A-N, yeah, Brisbane.
So I knew that
That's where you were supposed
that's
to go.
where I need to go. And it was just at near the end of my lease, 6-month lease.
Worked out perfect, yeah.
So I said, great. So once again, I got rid of everything and hopped the plane. And
Talk about uncluttering, huh?
yeah. And so that was the way things went for me for another long time. And I hopscotched around from Australia, and then I went to India, that magical place.
That would be a place that I am so intrigued with. Never been there. That in Egypt for some reason. It's almost like, it's funny, my cousin, he was in India. I haven't spoken with him in a few years, but he was actually helping all the poor, feed them and whatever, He's in California somewhere now. I don't know where. But I'm so intrigued by India. Maybe in one lifetime I might have been from India. One never knows. That in Egypt, it's just like, I look at these people who come from India, and I love the way they dress, and I just look into their souls, and they're so pure.
You're right about that. It's
Yeah.
even though there's this incredible poverty there,
It's sad, but they don't
feel it.
No, they just respect whatever God gives them.
Exactly. And there is this feeling of peace there that,
Yeah, I'm sure.
and also sort of this vibration that is a little higher than we have in our country. So I was very intrigued to get there. Now, when I was in Hawaii, I found out who my captain was.
Okay.
I went to the mainland and saw a picture of Meher Baba. It's M-E-H-E-R, Baba.
Heard.
And as soon as I saw his picture, I knew it was
You knew
him
that
that
was
had
the
been.
person that was
Yeah.
putting you in the spot.
And so by that time, and I didn't know that when I got that message about Brisbane. So when I actually told someone that that's where I was going, when I found out about Meher Baba, he said, well, did you know that Meher Baba has an ashram there?
Oh, interesting.
In Brisbane, or
Yeah.
near Brisbane.
Oh, God. No coincidences.
No
That's so
coincidence.
amazing.
Yeah, so I went there and stayed for several months and learned a lot more about how
I'm
things
sure.
work
I'm sure, yeah.
and so on, and then went to India and stayed at his ashram there for quite some time.
Now, when you go to an ashram, do they basically, it's almost like unclothing your life, cluttering less that you even, didn't you know that you had that? You basically, the way my concept is that you go, it's like to the bare roots of who you are. Would that make sense?
It's very close. Now, it varies from place to place
Okay.
and the teacher that's involved. With Meher Baba's ashram, there's no structure, and so
Okay.
they don't have any teaching or anything like that. It's basically a place to go and you imbibe the energy there and the love
Interesting.
there.
Okay.
And he passed away in 1969, so but the energy that he has
Still
there
hangs,
is
yeah.
still
Yeah.
very much there. And so you're right, your entire life, or many people report that their life changes dramatically as they simply
Personality, yeah.
spend a week or two there. But I had this wild idea that I have to tell you this because this is
It's okay.
nuts.
Yeah.
When I was in Australia, I had this very strong feeling that God wanted me to walk across India.
Well, that would have been a very good experience. You have good feet or what?
Yeah. And so when I was in Australia, I bought a bunch of camping gear and
Okay.
a backpack
Okay.
and started walking up and down this incredibly steep hill and got in terrific shape.
Okay.
And there was a
needed to be,
reason
yeah.
for that. There was a reason for that. But when I was getting ready to actually go on the walk, one of the people at the center there said, well, maybe you ought to talk to Bauji about this, one of the people that was in charge of the Westerners that come over there to visit. And so I went in and I presented that I was going to be walking across India. And should I do anything? You know, do I have to check in with the police or anything like that? And he said, oh, you can't do that. He said, you can't walk across India. He said, you will be killed within a day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he said the people look at your backpack and
I think you've got something
yeah.
important.
He said you cannot do that.
Wow.
Now that was one of the major disappointments in my life. I have
But
to tell
that's
you
probably
that
saved your life as well.
clearly, but I was ready to sacrifice it, and that's the important part. Because when he said that, I said I don't care. If I die, so be it. He said I won't permit it. And even though he didn't have any real authority,
Exactly.
what am I going to do?
It said, wait a minute, now, do I really want to? You know, I've got so much more to give. Why would I want to do that?
Right. And so, as I'm walking across the railroad tracks, there was another one of these mystical experiences. And as I looked down those rails, the thought came to me, you don't have to walk across India. All you have to do is take the train.
That is so true. And it was right there. Isn't that funny? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So did you go across India?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I ended up in Calcutta.
That just came to my mind, Calcutta. that has to be, I mean, I would say that whole country's got to be so intriguing. So intriguing.
Well, I would say it's beyond intriguing.
Yeah.
It is magical
Oh,
in
I'm
many
sure.
ways, but it is so different that the average Westerner has a lot of difficulty in absorbing
Really?
all of that energy. You see, and that's what I discovered, is that I had been prepared in Australia by walking up and down that hill.
Well, yeah, that got you going.
See, and so
Yeah.
that was what that was all about.
Well, we do have see how fast the time goes? We still have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So I would love you to talk about the chakras.
Okay, I'm going to tell real quick, and then I want
Okay,
to leave a final
fabulous.
message for folks.
Okay, great.
Well, the chakras are the healing, we use chakras in our healing practice, those of us that are esoteric healers. But the chakras are the energy systems that connect us to the next higher dimension, or all the higher dimensions, because each one is connected with a different dimension. So they are spinning vortices, a vortex of spinning energy, and they're aligned along the spinal canal. And so they start in the perineal region, that's chakra 1, and then in the pelvis is 2, and the umbilical area is 3, the heart, the wonderful heart chakra, and then 5 is in the throat, 6th is right here, and 7th is our connection to heavenly energy, or God. So they are invisible, but esoteric healers can use them and use their own chakra system that has to be purified.
Yes.
And then we can use our own chakra system to heal others. And so that's what it's all about. So these things open up to people in much the same. What I've described here was an amazing journey, as I think you'll say.
Fabulous, yeah.
But I'm not alone. I am not alone.
Well, we know that. Yeah, there's many people that go through
Many
similar
people have
areas.
had these kinds of experiences. Yeah. And why? Because we're at a point in time where that magical land that I was talking about, that beautiful land, is going to be our conscious awareness of Earth. In other words, instead of seeing just a regular tile floor, we're going to see the luminescent. Yes. Yeah. And that instead of having fear and worry, we're going to experience the bliss and love that everything is made of. So that is the new consciousness, and that's what I want people to understand, that beauty is not somewhere distant. It is right here.
And you know, the thing too, Richard, is we don't have to live in the fear of it. We just have to open the palms and say, hey, that's in other words, it's there for the asking.
Yeah, and obviously when we're in between ages, there will be some sort of event that will be very difficult for us all to experience.
Well, we have to go through pain sometimes too.
Exactly.
As hard as it may be.
But instead of focusing on that,
we focus on the good.
We focus on what is coming down the road. And so people ask me, well, what can I do? You know, well, even if you're working at McDonald's or whatever, the way to do it is to do what you can with your circumstances and try and project love and forgiveness. And
I find she works when you smile at people. A lot of people don't smile anymore.
particularly at McDonald's. I shouldn't have said that.
Maybe yours, but we have happy people here in New York. But we're of course all on Facebook, and you see so many people say "Have a good day," or "Pay it forward," or "Smile," and there's so many people that you see in the road. They'll walk with their head down instead of saying, "Hi, how are you? Have a good day." It's almost like a flow. It's like I said before, with the flow of the ocean. You pay it forward, you pay. And I love this new aspect that's coming about. It's been probably about a year, probably even longer, that now people are saying, okay, well, you know what? Pay for his coffee behind me. And
right.
just, it's paying it forward. I truly, truly feel that, One question. What do you think is the hardest chakra?
The hardest chakra to work through?
Yeah.
It's number one. It's the one that, if it is blocked, then none of the other chakras are going to work well. So it's our connection with Earth.
Okay.
And that's one reason I live on a farm.
That was my dream one day when I was young. On the farm, take care of the cows and the horses and the dogs and the cats and, chickens and all that good stuff.
Yeah, if you have a cell phone like this and you're like this, your first chakra isn't working well.
Interesting. Yeah, because, talking about cell phones, it just boggles my mind. Yes, we do need all that connection. I guess we're down to 3 minutes, just about, because Karen just came in. But people aren't going to know how to talk anymore. It's kids. I just found out that they don't have script anymore in schools. I was like, what? Everything is printing. I had no idea. Well, anyway, we are down to the end. This has been a fascinating, fascinating hour. I have to tell you that. For me to keep my mouth shut, it's been fascinating. I really have to say that. Why don't you tell the audience how to get in touch with you? And, if they want, I'm sure that I can't wait now to read it. I have it ready up, but now I cannot wait to read it. If they want to contact you for more insight, or where you do know you're going to be traveling more. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
With this, I feel like, and I also feel, I'm giving my prediction, you're going to be doing classes as well.
Oh, boy.
On how to open up. I mean, how could you not? You look at the experiences that you've gone through. It's fabulous.
Well, I always have my ear open. What now?
Well, it's going to be going forward. So tell the audience how to contact you.
Just Google Richard House or Richard House MD, or my website is richardhousemd.com.
Fabulous.
And it'll get you right to my book.
Now, next time you come to New York, which I'm hoping will be more frequently, we need to definitely get you on here even more. Maybe get you involved in some classes or groups and stuff.
Okay.
See, I could see you in libraries. I could see you in schools, because I really feel the younger generation really needs that.
Well, I'd be happy to do what God intends.
Well, He's going to push you right down that road,
So I want to thank you. It's been lovely chatting with you.
It's been fabulous. It's been fabulous for me as well, Well, folks, we are down to the end of our show. As I said earlier, you can see this show on my other stations as well, or actually my other shows as well, because we're going to try to rotate. I have so many interesting. I go to a film fest. I go to healings. I do fundraisers. We're going to try to interact every single show that I have with my other shows. So everybody's going to see everything, put it that way, And if you want to contact me, you can email me at rosebuds, with an S, janetmsn.com. You can call me at 631-654-3353. You can go to my website, janetrussellpresents.com, and all of where I will be, is basically on there, my upcoming events, and you can actually see these shows on there now. It's been such a pleasure. It really has been. Very insightful young man. Love what you went through to where you are. And the pain was there, but sometimes we have to live through the pain to achieve.
Well said.
It's the only way to go.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, are you going to be traveling in other areas besides the States?
Oh, yeah.
You are.
Down the road.
It's all
yeah.
good
I'm
stuff.
covering the U.S.
The
first,
world.
and then the world.
Wow.
Again, I've been
Yes.
around 3 times, but
Amazingly so. Well, folks, good night. God bless. Be good to each other, but most of all, be good to yourself. And if you would like to have Dr. House's book, any information, you can always call me or email me, and I will be certainly happy to connect you. And, it's been and thank you so much for that. I know you had like a 3-hour delay coming in on the plane, but, so what do you think of our island? Have you been here before?
yes, no, first time.
Oh, interesting.
Lovely. I'd love to come back.
Well, you need to come back. 'Cause we've got to come back and be on the show with many more opportunities. You're going to be writing another book, too, by the way.
I've got 3 in the
Oh,
can.
well, there you go. There you go. We didn't even share that before. So I'm quite excited. I'm so thrilled that you came here, I can only say good words. And your energy is so pure that, because when I look at a person, I look at their soul,
Ah,
So to me, when I look at your soul, I see that pure connection there.
thank you so
Very
much.
good. Very good. Thank you again. Just about ready to say good night. Well, good afternoon, I should say. Good night in some places, right?
Good
It
job.
was good, right?
Yes.
See how smooth it is?
Yes. Oh, I'm so
Oh,
glad.
wait. You got your
Thank you.
Take it off. You get-
Yeah. There we are.
So